Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. It's Jennifer Tarle from Tarle Speech. And we are just having a super casual lunchtime live today. Mainly, I'm just going to be talking about the previous videos that I have published for the month. And I'm just taking viewer questions today. So get your questions ready. Let me just check everything, make sure everything is working just fine. Looks like we are a-okay. Nothing is coming through on the chat just yet. So if you're there, give me a little shout out so I know you're here. Hello, Lumberjack. You were here on Saturday. I did a guest spot at Schwamel with Fluent American. So you can check that out. All right. So question number one, I will go with what Lumberjack is asking here. What do you native speakers say students are at recess? I would say the kids are at recess or the students are at recess. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead just while people are trickling in here, and I'm going to add to the stream the videos that I have posted recently. Let me share that with you. Ooh, that's a little too small. There we go. All right. So here are all of the videos from the month. We had several heteronyms. And for those of you who are new to my channel, heteronyms are words that are pronounced differently, but they are spelled the same. They also have slightly different meanings. The meanings are usually related. So we've had the words appropriate and appropriate, compress and compress, and console and console. The big idea with these heteronyms and with my overall series of heteronyms is that there is a rule that typically we are going to stress the first syllable or the beginning of the word when the word is a noun or an adjective. And then we are going to stress the end or the second syllable of a word when the word is a verb. So again, this month we had compress and compress. So a compress is something that you're going to maybe put on your face or your head if you're feeling a little sick. And then compress means to squeeze. So we have that rule there. We're stressing syllable number one for compress and syllable number two for the verb compress. Another word that we had this month that's very, very similar is console and console. So console could be something that you play your video game on, and console means to comfort. So we have console and console. So let's listen to those two sets of words together, and we're going to see if we can hear that little pattern that is emerging. So we have compress, compress, console, console. What we're hearing is when we stress syllable number one, we're going to say that vowel, that ah vowel, ah, compress, console. But then when we unstress that first syllable, when we go to stress syllable number two in those words, we are going to make syllable number one that schwa, that sound. And then we're going to say compress and console. So that's a great tip to kind of remember. Do I say con or kun? When you don't know which vowel to say in those heteronyms, typically we're really going to pronounce that vowel. We're going to say it if it's a noun in syllable number one, and we are going to unstress it and say the short sound, that schwa sound in syllable number 1 and make that O and sound. Okay. Another word that I introduced this month with those heteronyms is appropriate and appropriate. We have a lot of these words in English, and I actually think that I have some more of these coming up. Yes, in May. I just filmed some more lessons. And the rule here, general rule, is we're going to say it to end the words that end in ate in nouns, and then ate when it is a verb. So we have that here with appropriate and appropriate. So appropriate, the adjective, is it, and appropriate, the verb, is the ate. Okay, and I think the most popular lesson from this month with heteronyms is close and close. And we just have one sound changing here. Close, you're standing close to me, you are near me, is going to end with that S. And then close the door, you are going to end it with a Z. All right. Anybody have any questions on all of those? I lost my pen, everybody. Let me get a new pen here so I can take notes. Okay. Let's see. So Lumberjack is saying your fly is open. That means zip up your fly. Is that correct? Yes. And for those of you that don't know this meaning of fly, that means the zipper on your pants. So your fly is open means your zipper is down and you need to pull up the zipper on your pants. All right, Derek, yes. English pronunciation does seem very irregular. And the one rule that I always stress with my students is that there is always an exception to every rule, but there are rules. And that's what I was just talking about with those heteronyms, those words that are spelled the same but pronounced differently. There is a rule embedded there, and that is stress the beginning when it's a noun or an adjective, and stress the end when it is a verb. That helps us know which sound as well. We're really going to say that vowel sound, that ah in the stress syllable, and then just the short when it's unstressed. So those little patterns you can look for, they are there, and that does make it a little more regular. But again, there are always exceptions. Let's see what else. All right. Lumberjack is asking fissure versus fisher, a door versus a door, policeman versus policeman, gentleman versus gentleman, and mailman versus mailman. Okay. This gets a little complex because these words are pronounced differently. That being said, oftentimes in sentences, we are going to choose a different word to focus on or to stress. So, to back up a minute, we start with sounds. Those are sort of the easiest things to kind of think about. Spelling typically helps us. And so, when we look at the sounds in the word, we can compare these and we can make these sound different. When we have these words in a sentence, we start to have sentence level stress and intonation. And when we have that, certain words will be louder, longer, and higher in pitch. That means we really pronounce that word. We say all of the sounds. But then if the word is not a focus word, it will not be as stressed. It will be reduced. It will be less. So we're often going to use some more sounds, some more short vowels, relaxed vowels, and then those words might sound different, might sound a little bit different in the sentence depending on if it's stressed or not. So I would say fissure and fisher. So I would say that jure and that first word, adore versus adore. Those are probably going to be exactly the same in every sentence, unless you're really specifying you want a door at the store. And then you're really going to say that a, but typically we don't stress the articles in sentences. Policeman versus policeman. That's a tough one. Policeman. I would say policeman for probably both of those with that schwa at the end. Same with gentleman and gentleman. And mailman versus mailmen. I actually would say that one a little bit differently, but that's just because I'm definitely stressing those words. So thanks for that. Question. Can I call a female a yes man? I guess so. I don't see why not. Hmm. Okay, so the question is, can I ask which is correct? Who are you by trade, by profession, by occupation? So which one is correct? I would not say any of these. I would actually say, what is your occupation? What do you do for a living? Or what is your profession? I would not necessarily ask who you are by trade. So I would change that to a what and what do you do? Or what do you do for a living? Or what is your occupation? Or what is your profession? Lumberjack coming in hot with another question here. When the restroom is not occupied, what should we say? Is the bathroom or restroom free or unoccupied? Whichever you prefer. Those are both correct. Okay. And Lumberjack, another question. My watch or clock is 15 behind or ahead. Is this correct? No. I would say, I would actually specify minutes. So I would say my watch is 15 minutes behind or ahead. So very, very close. All right. All right. We have a new person here. Welcome. How are you? Can you tell us some examples on where and how to use a silent L, a dark L, and a light L? This came up a lot in the live stream on Saturday, this L sound. In my opinion, if you are going for speaking clarity, just being clear, this is something that you would think about if you are giving a presentation at work, if you are in a meeting, if you are having a professional conversation, if you were meeting someone for the first time. I tell everyone to just be very thoughtful and be very specific and overpronounce your words. I think it's important to be clear. If you do want to get fancy with the silent L, the dark L, and the light L, by all means, you can learn that. I grew up in an area where we really use the dark L a lot. And it almost sounds like my words when I use this dark L don't have an L at all, that it is just a vowel. So I've sort of overcorrected throughout my life. And now I use a light L most of the time. So you can use either. So an example of the light L would be you touch, excuse me, you touch the teeth, the back of the teeth where the skin meets the teeth at the roof of the mouth. You're going to touch that and hold that for that light L. So call me later. Call me later. Versus that dark L where you're going to have your tongue further back. Call me later. Call me later. So you can get fancy. You can choose which one to use. I do think it is really hard to think about lots and lots and lots of things while you're speaking. And so I think, in just my humble opinion, go for being clear over being fancy, especially when you are getting started, and just say that L every time. It's a whole lot easier. So I hope that answered your question. And hello to you. That was my next little comment. Okay. Um, Lumberjack is asking, does the word group mate exist in the English language? I don't know this word. That doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I do know teammate, roommate, and classmate. I'm assuming you could say group mate if you are in maybe graduate school getting your MBA, you have a group that you're working with. But it's not a word that I necessarily use. All right. We have another question, and that is, what is the difference between peak, P-E-A-K, and peak, P-E-E-K? Great question. If you are new to my channel, I'm actually going to multitask here and get something to put in the chat for you. We have many, many words in English that are homophones. Homophones are words that are spelled differently, but are pronounced exactly the same way. I have a new lesson on homophones every Tuesday. It is my 2 for Tuesday homophone lesson. And these are great because you not only learn the pronunciation, but you also learn the definitions. I do include the definitions. Some of my older videos don't have the definitions. I've definitely evolved over the years, but most of my videos do have the definitions both in the video, and then they also have the definitions in the lesson and in the description. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So to get back to the question at hand, peak, P-E-A-K, is the top of something, like the peak of a mountain or the top of your performance. You're at peak performance. Peek, P-E-E-K, means to look. I'm going to peek and take a look at something. So I just put the homophones in the chat so you can take a look at those. And again, those are posted every Tuesday. And I have many, many, many homophone videos. We're up to 223. So you can have a lot of learning there. Okay. We've got a random question here, which is, hey, this is kind of a random question. What would you choose for your word or words for today? My word for today, just in life in general, is, this is more than one word, back at it. I was on vacation last week. So back at it means I am here. I am working today full time. I am back at it and getting up and going for the week. So that's my word for today. Another word for today, I hate to admit it, is tired. I am a little tired from having too much fun for the last week. And yesterday I celebrated the Easter holiday with my family, which was very nice, but I hosted. So I'm exhausted from cleaning up and all that good stuff, but it was very good. And if you all celebrate Easter, I hope you had a great time. All right. Just moving down all of these questions. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we have a question. Juan is asking, win versus wing, is it the same pronunciation? No, it is different. This is a very common mistake that I do come across. And I actually have a video lesson for you. And I am going to put that in the chat right now. And then I will explain to you what the difference is. So, if you are listening to this as a podcast, I'm going to do a quick little break here. You can always head on over to YouTube where I have the video and the running comments for you to see. And I have all the links in there if you're looking for something, or you can go to my YouTube page at Tarle Speech, and that's TarleSpeech. And that's my handle for all of my socials as well. And you can find all of my videos there. So, to get back to Juan's question, win versus wing. The N sound that ends the word win, you are going to touch the back of your top front teeth where your teeth meet the skin on the roof of your mouth for that N sound. Win, win, win. For wing, the NG letters at the end of the word stand for one sound. Mm, mm. And if you're watching, you can see the tip of my tongue is way low in my mouth. The back of my tongue is pulled up. And that is how I'm going to say that sound. Mm, mm, mm. This is hard for you. Let's think about the K and the G sound. K, 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 k. G, 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 g. Think about where your tongue is. Tip of the tongue is down, back of the tongue is pulled high up. That is the same place for that NG sound. Mm, mm, mm. The NG, air comes out of your nose, N, air comes out of your nose as well. So then we have win with an N, wing with that NG. Win, wing, win, wing, win, 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 wing, wing, wing. Some people in the US do make a very hard G sound on wing, but some people don't. So it's kind of good to know the more precise ng version, which is just that one sound NG versus that extra puff for that g sound at the end that some people do make, just so you know the difference there. So again, win, wing. All right. All right. I do have the question is, what is the pronunciation of resume, the document you need for work? Resume is pronounced resume, resume, resume. And you need that word stress to be different than in the word resume, resume. So we have resume, 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 resume. And I am going to put the video lesson that I have on that in the chat. So again, we have resume, and that has 3 syllables or 3 beats, and resume, that has 2 syllables or 2 beats. So resume, 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 resume. Okay. Moving right along. Lumberjack again. I'm not on their team. That is what I would say. And I hear in the US, that's the American version. I am on the team, not I am in the team, on the team. Okay. Another question from Juan. What is the difference between want and won't? I think the easiest way to think about this is if we were to spell these words differently. I do have a lesson on this. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. Okay. And the difference here is the word want. Think of it as being spelled with a U, want. Whereas won't, think about it with a longer O, won't. So want, won't, want, won't. Another difference that you'll see if you're watching this is that when I say want, my lips pull back, as opposed to when I'm saying won't, my lips tend to stay a little more rounded, and that has to do with the vowel. So want, won't. All right. Next question. What is the American pronunciation of duty? I actually say a flap T here, which I teach as a quick D sound. I think that's a lot easier to learn. And so I say duty, duty. All right. So this is interesting. I think I should have used submit instead of send in my question above. Those are both okay. You can submit your question or you can send it in. Similar, almost exactly the same. And in fact, I would use both of those interchangeably. So they are definitely the same. All right. How do you pronounce, new question, how do you pronounce words that start with pre and pro? Pronunciation, prepare, professional. Let me think about this one for a second. So I would think about word stress. And if the syllable is stressed, then I would say pre or pro. So if you're stressing that word in your sentence, you might hear people say, I'm a professional. I am a pronunciation professional. That's really overpronouncing and highlighting those words and making those focus words so you really get what I'm trying to convey to you. However, if I'm using these words in connected speech and I'm not stressing them, I could say I'm a pronunciation professional and I would use the pronunciation professional, pronunciation professional. So I think what gets confusing for people is you will hear both of these options, pro and pra. And a lot of times the words can be pronounced two different ways. They're almost exactly the same, professional, professional, pronunciation, pronunciation. It's just about if you're using that sort of as a focus word and really overpronouncing the word. For prepare, typically, I will say, prepare again. Same thing here. I might say, I'm going to prepare for class, using that as a focus word and really saying both sounds. However, most of the time, if I say, I'm going to prepare for my pronunciation class for professionals, all of those are going to be that schwa, that sound, because they're unstressed syllables in those words. And I got a nice little hi from Norbert. Hello. Okay. Next question. What's the difference between one and one? One being WON and one being ONE. Those are pronounced exactly the same way. I'm going to put this in the chat for you. It is one and one. So think of both of these words being pronounced WUN, one. So there's no O in either of those words. It's just one and one. Okay. Okay. Lumberjack, keeping me on my toes today. All right. So he's asking, are these, I'm assuming you're a man. So if you're a woman, I apologize. Um, giving me pairs of words. I'll start with each, I'll just go through each one. Always and always. I would pronounce those exactly the same. So always spelled ALWAYS and always spelled ALLWAYS, like two separate words. Again, I go back to that word stress. And if I'm using that as a focus word in my sentence, they might sound slightly different, but in connected speech, they will probably sound exactly the same. False and falls are different. False, False, ends in an S. And falls, Falls, ends in a Z. So false and falls, false and falls. So those are different. The S and the Z is really a challenge at the end of a word for a lot of my students. A lot of languages don't have a Z at the end of words. And so this becomes very, very difficult. I'm actually going to add a playlist to the chat here, and it is on S and Z. We have a lot of words like this. One of my more popular videos is rice and rise. So, rice, the food, has an S sound at the end. Rise, to go up, has a Z sound at the end. Okay. All right. Candy, back at it. You are right. I'm trying here. It was rough this morning. Everyone trying to get up and get ready and get going to get out of the house and on time to school. All right. Aaron is asking, could you please pronounce the word potluck? I actually have a video on the words potluck and bad luck. And potluck, which is a delightful gathering in America where everyone brings something to share. And it's usually in a casserole dish that is covered with a lid, and everyone brings something to a potluck to share. It's not a pot, it's pot. You have to really open your mouth very wide for that ah, and you have to stress pot. That's the key here. Stress pot, and then luck is unstressed, so that's shorter. Pot is longer, luck is shorter. Pot is louder, luck is softer. Pot is higher, luck is lower. So it's potluck, potluck, potluck. This is opposed to bad luck, bad luck, bad luck that I have in another video lesson. And those are good to know the difference. So I will go ahead and put that in the chat as well as soon as I find it. All right. So again, if you are listening, you can always head on over to my YouTube channel to watch this lesson again. I just put that in the chat for you for potluck and bad luck. Back to the beginning of class, someone was saying English is so irregular. Here's another really great regular rule, which is in compound nouns, which are two words that we put together to make a new word with a new meaning. We are going to stress word one, which means it's louder, longer, and higher, and unstressed word two, softer, shorter, and lower. Okay. Yes, nothing wrong with a little fun, but it is exhausting. Like I said, I'm probably going to need a nap before bedtime tonight, and I'm busy all day. Okay. All right. For the sake of it or for its sake, can I use both? You can. I don't think this is something that I would necessarily say all the time. But yeah, they both kind of mean the same thing. Okay. We're almost out of time. So I am just going to scroll through to see what other questions I'm missing here. Okay, here's another good one. Run and ran. Run, RUN, has that short, closed, relaxed run, 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 as opposed to ran, 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 which is made with a wider open mouth for that sound. Okay. All right, next question. I have problems with spoken English since they reduce the sounds a lot. For example, in the sentence, all you need is love, you should say, all you need is love, but they pronounce it, all you need is love. Yes, I need to do a class on this. I have some handouts that I use with students that I see one-on-one, and we definitely work on these. You don't have to use them, but they are helpful for listening. So that's something that I can schedule for a future class. And Joe, back to your question. Um, I always recommend to my students that um, listen for the content. And if you miss a word, don't panic. Oftentimes it is that reduction. And once you listen more and you become more comfortable with that, becomes a little more natural and it's not as scary. But again, I will have a class on those. I just need to get some of that ready for you all. All right. Aaron is saying, thank you so much. You were awesome. Thank you. That is so sweet. So basically, all compound words receive the same stress on the first syllable. Yes, I'm going to clarify though, not the first syllable, the first word. So a syllable is a beat in a word. So my name, Jennifer, has 3 syllables. Jennifer. Aaron has 2 syllables. Aaron. So that's a syllable, that's a beat in the word. I'm going to stress syllable number 1 in my name, Jennifer. Okay. So that's a syllable stress. Word stress would be I'm stressing my whole name. So my name is Jennifer Tarle. I really want you to know that my name is Jennifer. So, yes, I'm still stressing syllable 1, but I'm also stressing my whole name, first name, Jennifer, and unstressing my last name because I'm saying this is not as important. Like, I want you to call me Jennifer. So, my name is Jennifer Tarle, or I am having a potluck. So, I'm stressing word 1, which is only 1 syllable, but definitely stressing the whole word in compound nouns. And then syllable stress is another level of stress. So I like to think of it as sounds, syllables, and then word stress in sentences. That tends to help my students because there's so much to remember that this kind of gives you a little bit of a framework to work from. I would say lowest to highest on the hierarchy of things. And thank you from Mexico. Um, my friends, this is another one from Lumberjack. My friends are on at break. They are on break. They are on their break. All right. And the next live, this is a great question to end on, is next Monday. And I will try to do some reductions for next Monday. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. We got through a lot today. If you want to re-listen to this, it will be posted as a replay on my YouTube channel at Tarle Speech. You can also find it as a podcast that I will post it a little bit later. So you can listen to that again wherever you get your podcasts. If you're looking for more help, I do have some products on Teachers Pay Teachers, Google Play, iTunes, wherever you get your digital products. It's not on Amazon yet. I'm working on that. They just have a different system. I have books or individual practice sound pages with embedded audio for you to practice along with me. I also offer one-to-one classes. There's info on my website, tarlespeech.com. And lastly, if you are looking for someone to teach a live class, now that things are pretty much opened up everywhere, give me a shout out. You can connect with me on all of my socials at Tarle Speech, or send me an email. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you all so much for being here. and for all of your support. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for a homophone lesson. And I'll see you next week in the live stream. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.